welcome to Heal Body, Mind and Spirit. My name is Dermot Farrell, and today we're going to talk about high blood pressure and how to treat it naturally. So this is a two-part video. The first part we're just going to talk a little bit about blood pressure, why people get blood pressure, and tactics which you can do naturally to reduce your blood pressure levels. In the next video we'll talk about herbs that you can use to treat your blood pressure. So first of all, blood pressure. What exactly is it and how bad is it, etc. High blood pressure is number one and number two on the list of conditions that kill you, according to the World Health Organization. Number one being heart attack, number two being stroke. Now some of it can't be avoided. After all, they'll list you down as death by heart failure if you're like 100 years old and your heart stops beating. So something has to kill you. But in many cases, people are actually dying because of heart problems or cardiovascular problems. And where high blood pressure comes in, is basically high blood pressure is whereby your circulatory system is an enclosed hydraulic system. So much like if you see a JCB truck, for example, one of those diggers, they use hydraulics to move the arms and so on and so forth. Same thing with the blood flow in your body. It's a hydraulic system whereby the blood has to be pressurized. If there's too low blood pressure in the system, the function of the blood is to take away toxins from the cells and to put fresh oxygen and nutrients into the cell. So low blood pressure means it's less efficient. Fortunately, if your blood pressure is low, you'll just tend to feel lethargic and dizzy. It won't cause organic damage. But if your blood pressure is high, normal being around 120 over 80, so high is anything 130 over 90 above, you start getting damage. It puts pressure on the system. Things like the heart will start to enlarge. There'll be too much pressure going to the kidneys, so you get kidney damage. You probably heard about cholesterol. Well, cholesterol is one of those things which seems to have an effect upon creating plaque, which is a build-up, much like the plaque on your teeth. You get plaque in your arteries, and with high blood pressure you're more likely to get more plaque build-up, which over time can build up in layers, make it harder for the blood to actually travel through an artery, and then you get a blood clot. Is one example. So for example, a stroke or an embolism in the brain is often whereby there's a blood clot has developed because the blood couldn't get through an artery. If you've ever had the interesting experience, as I have, gone to a medical museum where they have heads cut in half and you look at the heads, it's amazing to see these little arteries and veins moving around and think, how the hell such a small space does anything flow? And it's obvious that a small, tiny impediment can cause a blockage, which can give you a stroke, which can kill you, or the embolism go into your lungs, which again can stop you breathing, can go into your heart, can cause a heart blockage. Another thing that you can get with high blood pressure is the pressure builds up. The aortic arteries are very big arteries, about that thick, that wide, it's quite big. That can expand over time and eventually it will blow. Okay, so just like any hydraulic system, put too much pressure that something will blow. So in general, high blood pressure over a period of time will create a lot of damage throughout the body, throughout the organs, and it can also create a fatal blowout. So high blood pressure itself will not kill you, but it will lead to things like strokes and heart problems. Another problem you can get, of course, is damage to the kidneys, which the kidneys then start failing, then liquid starts building up, you get congestive heart failure, and then the heart starts filling with water and stuff like that, with fluid, and then it goes back into lungs, and then you start suffocating and stuff. So there's so many different things that can go on. Well, high blood pressure is one of those things you have to keep down. So just to clarify, when your doctor says you have to watch your blood pressure levels, you have to watch your cholesterol levels, it's not that blood pressure kills you, it's not that cholesterol kills you, but over a period of time, the mixture of a bad diet resulting in deposits, plaque deposits on the arteries, and high blood pressure, like sandblasting those particles, making the plaque build faster, sandblasting it all over the artery, so the artery starts getting smaller and smaller. These can cause major problems. So needless to say, we have to do what we have to do to cure it or improve it. Now generally what happens with allopathic medicines. Like I did another video before on depression and what happens in depression, but from an allopathic point of view, when a person gets depressed, the first line of defense, the doctor will give you a drug and see how you are on that drug for a few months. Then they'll take you off the drug and see if you're still fine. If you're fine, good. If you're not fine, he'll just keep you on the drug. The idea being that the drug will give you relief for a few months and that you can pull yourself together, and by biofeedback, as well as your life improves, you'll feel better. If that doesn't work, just keep you on antidepressants for life. That's the way they tend to go. Same thing with blood pressure medication. If you go to your doctor, he'll give you lifestyle changes and suggest trying that. If that doesn't work, he'll give you blood pressure pills. And most doctors will tell you to stay on blood pressure pills for life. Some might say take a blood pressure pill for a week or two and then come back and see how you are. But pretty much either they'll tell you to stay on the drugs for life or to stay on the drugs for a few weeks and then come off and see how you are. And if you're not right, go back on. Because from a Western medical point of view, they can't get a handle on the pressure. They can't get a handle on blood pressure. So just returning to blood pressure, I think the reason why when people get blood pressure, they tend to stay having blood pressure, unless you get things like high blood pressure during pregnancy, it'll usually go down. If you take some medications, it will rise when you come off, it'll come down. But for a lot of people, if you start developing blood pressure, if it hasn't gone down after a month or two, it will stay elevated. And the doctors, a lot of people actually have borderline high blood pressure. It's not high all the time. But doctors like to keep your medication because most people don't know and they don't monitor and they don't know when it's high and it's low. So the tendency is to keep you on drugs. My thinking, I could be inaccurate this, but this is my thinking, is that it's like blowing a seal, that if your blood pressure is high for a consistent period of time, it will be prone to going high again. There's a governor in your system, something that restricts or stops it going too high. But once you've blown that seal, as it were, your body will have a tendency towards going high again. But unless you're chronically ill, the blood pressure won't be high all the time. So for a lot of people who are hovering around the 130 over 90, 140 over 100, often if things are positive, their blood pressure will be fine. So what advice could I give anybody naturally to treat blood pressure? Well, for a start, I tell you to go out and get yourself an electronic blood pressure tester. Probably $50, something like that. The reason why is that if you're relying on going to your doctor, you go to your doctor once a week or once a month, once every 3 months, you don't know what your blood pressure levels are. Some people are very sensitive to blood pressure, they'll feel the difference. Some people, they walk around with 180 over 140 and they're literally ready to have a massive heart attack or stroke and you don't know it because they have no symptoms. So some people have symptoms, they hear a bulging sound, a pump, pump, pump in their ear, and their head feels like it's going to explode, and their blood pressure is only 140 over 90. Another person, like I said, is 180 over 140 and doesn't feel anything. So advice to anybody is, once you start having problems with blood pressure, you start checking your blood pressure every day and seeing how it is. And take responsibility for monitoring yourself. The second thing is, there's a lot of hope if you are borderline or you just developed high blood pressure. There's a good chance you can get rid of it. So let's think in terms of what causes high blood pressure. Well, what causes high blood pressure? There's many factors, partly genetic, but pretty much a lot of it seems to be, there's a couple of things. For example, if a person is diabetic, they're prone to having high triglyceride levels, which can create buildup in plaque, which causes narrowing of the arteries, which will raise blood pressure levels. Also, if you're 400 pounds of body weight or 300 pounds of body weight or something like that, it's a good chance you're putting too much pressure on your heart and there's just too much blood volume that's causing pressure. So that's examples of chronic ill health. Also, if a person has a big problem with massive sodium intake, that can create a lot of water retention in the body, increased blood volume, which again causes high blood pressure. If a person is very low in potassium, again, that deficiency can create an electrolyte problem, which again can create a problem with blood pressure. So there's a few kind of health conditions which can incur one towards blood pressure, and it's good to check and see if you have any of these conditions, and try and balance them out. And if you start having blood pressure, check these things. But for a person who's otherwise healthy and in the normal body fat range, probably what you're looking at usually is lifestyle. inactivity, not moving the body, the blood circulation slows down, the heart is unfit, so it's not effectively pushing the blood around the body. A big problem, I believe, is a lot of people are sitting all the time and it restricts the blood flow. That's why you might have heard of deep vein thrombosis. People have famously had it on airplane flights, which is why when you go on an airplane these days they suggest to stand up and move around and all this. A lot of us are in jobs where we're sitting all the time, and a very simple thing we can do is get up every half an hour, every hour, move around, move our body, because that's restricting the blood flow. Another factor, very big factor, stress. A lot of people, if they take an anti-anxiety drug, their blood pressure goes down. So if you're a sort of person, you have intermittent blood pressure, it seems to go up when you're working hard or you're stressed, and you take an anti-anxiety drug, there's a good chance that you don't really have a sort of organic kind of blood pressure. It's more like stress related, which is a big factor. Another thing to remember is that blood pressure is not a disease. You don't have the disease of blood pressure. You have an imbalance resulting in blood pressure, but it tends to be hard to treat it. So for a lot of people, they're not physically moving around the place, they're inactive, their hearts are unfit, they're sitting in one place for hours and hours, either in their job working, or they're on their laptop, or they're on their smartphone, or they're checking their Facebook status, or they're watching the TV and not moving. Often an unhealthy diet, often being overweight, some arterial damage maybe because of high triglycerides, high cholesterol levels are restricting the arteries, and that can be causing a problem. And a lot of people stress. So you have very often a case person is inactive, sitting at the desk all day, and a lot of mental stress. And this sort of thing will raise blood pressure levels and over time can cause an imbalance. Genetics appears to play a part. Some people are more prone to blood pressure problems than others. From a traditional Chinese background, as my background is Chinese medicine, it's a yin-yang energetic imbalance. And again, because of our lifestyle is so stressed and so unbalanced lifestyle, the yin-yang ends up being energy. Yang is active energy, yin is nurturing energy, and there tends to be an imbalance between the yin and the yang energy, and this can cause problems. So realistically it's an energetic imbalance, but once that becomes imbalanced it's hard to rebalance it. From a Chinese point of view, you can do acupuncture, also things like homeopathy can help, or Diabetic medicine can help. There's many different things that can help, but let's just look at a few practical things. I would definitely recommend always trying out a complementary health practitioner who might be able to help. Other things I'd recommend will be obvious lifestyle changes. If you're in a job where you're sitting all the time, make sure you get up and move every half an hour, 20 minutes, just stand up, walk around, move your body, move your hips, because the arteries moving through your hips are being compressed. That's probably the number one cause of high blood pressure for a lot of people, is simply that the circulation system is being constricted by their body being in the one position for a very long period of time. The other thing is life stress. What can we do about life stress? Well, we can kind of switch off for a little while. I think a big problem with life stress is that it's like the on button is on all the time. And even though consciously we feel fine, unconsciously our brain is thinking about our job, or bills, or this or that. And this is a constant mental tension which undermines us. And from a Chinese medical point of view, that's burning off the nurturing yin energy. It's also burning off the active yang energy, causing an imbalance. Okay, so very simple things you can do. Meditation is one very good thing, but I know everybody's in meditation. But what does work very well is giving yourself a little break for a few minutes. I used to work in a job where I had a lot of mental stress, and when I had a 15-minute break, I would go down to the canteen, I'd have a cup of coffee, and I would read a Pulp Fiction book. And I used to find these books deeply entertaining. I found myself being very relaxed at the end of it. Why? Because I did something different. So if you're on work, having a break, taking out a book that you like and reading it can be good. Surfing a website that you like can be good. I know one guy's computer program, he likes playing chess to relax himself. I wouldn't find that relaxing, especially when I was doing mental work, but he found it relaxing. So doing something to switch yourself off, to do something other, something different then. Going for a walk around the block, watching a city TV program, maybe going onto YouTube and looking at city fail videos or some kind of funny videos for a few minutes, or cartoons or something like that. Having a chat with friends, whatever it is, just something to break, to stop you just constantly focusing on whatever it is you're focusing on, and just give yourself 10-15 minutes. I call it disconnect, reconnect. So just disconnecting for a few minutes and then reconnecting again. And often this gives you a huge mental break, because this is the natural flow. Before the Industrial Revolution, people worked very hard when they were sowing the seeds and very hard at the harvest time. So for about 6 months a year, people in the agrarian age, people were busy for about 6 months. During the 6 months a year, they're easy going. They didn't have, I have to be at work at 9 o'clock in the morning and all this sort of stuff, and night shifts. So they just went with nature. They got up when it got bright, went to sleep when it got dark. They told stories and sang songs and played musical instruments and generally just entertained themselves and basically hung around. And we've kind of lost that art. We're so stressed. We've all got a million things to do. So stress, I believe, is a really big factor, and physical activity is a big factor that can make a change. And again, from the Chinese medical point of view, anything which nurtures you, anything which makes you feel better, just getting around, moving around, being physically active, get the heart fit, get the heart healthy, and nurture yourself. Watch programs and movies and things which are good. Back when I used to live in Dublin, I was living in North Dublin beside the sea. I used to like going for a drive between Portmarnock, Malahide, Hote, which are all on the coast. I used to enjoy that coastal drive. I used to love going to the beach and watching the sun rise in the mornings or the sun set in the evenings. Again, going for a walk in nature, hiking up a hobby, doing something to relax yourself. It's not just relaxing yourself, it's also boosting that nurturing energy. Doing some DIY around the house or some gardening, it's physically active. And the other funny thing is, you do something physically active, often it recharges you. You're physically tired, but mentally you're relaxed. I remember, again, when I was a young guy, I had a cousin of mine who was a kitchen porter in a restaurant, so he was just cleaning the delf. And sometimes you take a day off and I would fill in for him. And the funny thing I found about that job, I'm not saying it was a great job cleaning the dishes, but I was very peaceful and calm afterwards, because all you're thinking about is cleaning. It kind of cleans your brain. You're just cleaning. You don't have time to think about what was I doing yesterday, what am I doing tomorrow, what problems do I have, what aspirations do I have. You don't have time to think about anything, because just pots and pans keep coming. You have to keep on cleaning. And this comes up to a concept of Zen Buddhism, a Japanese variation of Buddhism, where Zen is all about being in the now, being in the moment. And I tell you, you just go and clean a load of dishes, it'll clean you in the put you in the moment. Clean your car, will put you in the moment. Clean your house, will put you in the moment. So these are so many different things that you can do. Bigger things you can do, of course, like I said, is lifestyle changes, complementary therapy. You can do that. But small things is look at, being more active, moving around, giving your brain a bit of a disconnect for a while to recharge your batteries, trying to live more of a balanced lifestyle, because ultimately high blood pressure is an imbalance. So these are just a few ideas in general that will help you deal with high blood pressure. And then just a final point here as well. We're talking about treating blood pressure. Can we cure blood pressure? If you're just developing blood pressure, yeah, you can reverse it completely. If it's been there for a few weeks or a few months, often I feel that you've blown the seals. You've become borderline hypertensive. Like I said, your doctor will want you to put on drugs for life, because he knows that most people won't check their blood pressure levels. And you really, even if you have to take drugs, you have to get your blood pressure back under that 140/90. You have to get it back into the 80s. You basically got two readings. You got the systolic and diastolic. So the systolic is the pressure coming out of the heart, diastolic is blood pressure going back. The higher one, the top one, is coming out of the heart, and so the 120, and then the 80 is the coming back. So it's obviously going to be higher coming out, especially if you do exercise. It might be 150, 160 over 80, for example, but that's okay, you just did exercise. But it's the one coming back, when the blood is coming back around the body, that matters most. So they want to keep that low, because even if you've got high blood pressure, once you keep it below 140/90, you don't really get any organic damage. So I understand where they're coming from. But yeah, if you had it for a while, you're probably going to be prone to it. Personally, I don't believe in taking blood pressure pills for life when you're borderline hypertensive. A lot of doctors will disagree with that. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm an acupuncturist, Chinese medical practitioner. But that's my belief, is that if you're taking allopathic drugs, you're putting toxic chemicals into your body. There's always a side effect to these drugs, and if you take them endlessly, they tend to become ineffective. After a while you get side effects, after a while they don't seem to work so well and you have to keep changing them. And long term wise they're probably doing something bad for you. So always try and keep away from allopathic medicine. So my recommendation to a borderline hypertensive is to check your blood pressure every day. And if it's looking a little bit on the high side, it's starting to hit the 140/90-ish kind of mark. The bottom mark matters, not the top mark, 140, 150, whatever. You've been exercising, it doesn't matter. But it shouldn't really go above 90. So it should be in the 80s or even the 70s, the diastolic. So, once it looks a bit borderline, take a pill. A regular doctor will probably disagree with me on that, but I don't believe in taking pills unless you really have to take pills. And this is definitely something whereby, when you take a hypertensive pill, it works for a few hours. So you don't necessarily have to keep pumping them into yourself for life, because it's like lip balm. If you take lip balm all the time, your lips will stop producing oil. If you continually balance your blood pressure by taking drugs, your body has no hope of retaining its own balance. So that'd be my recommendation to the borderline people, and the chances are, if you just got it, you might be able to cure it. If you've had it for a little while, you might be able to cure it, but maybe 90% of the time you don't have high blood pressure, you can keep it at bay, and now and again you get a little bit stressed, 1 or 2 days, a month it goes a bit, you can bring it back down again. But I do recommend that anybody who's prone to high blood pressure, get the electronic kit, check it every day, maybe change the kit once every year and a half, to become inaccurate usually over time. And obviously do get a checkup with your doctor. Your doctor might not be super enthusiastic about you taking drugs intermittently. You can always tell them, well, I take my drugs. Because most of them, they just believe that, patients are basically responsible. I'm talking about being responsible. If you have higher blood pressure levels, like 120 over 110, say 60 over 110, 170 over 120, the chances are, you definitely pretty much have to take blood pressure medications. You can try all sorts of things, the lifestyle change I'm talking here, the herbs I'll be talking in the next video. You can try these things, and there's a good chance that they will have a positive effect, but it's unlikely, unless there's a huge imbalance and you've been able to make huge lifestyle changes, it's unlikely a person will go from something like 180 over 120 blood pressure back down to 120 over 80 or even 130 over 90. It's unlikely you'll get all the way back down. But if your blood pressure is so high and has been so high for years that it's like 180 over 120 or something like that, you're probably having difficulty just keeping it lower, even using drugs, in which case you can use lifestyle changes and all things like herbs to maybe get it closer to the 130 over 90 kind of mark, where it's not too bad, where it's okay-ish. So just to clarify, when people say, can you cure high blood pressure? Well, it depends. Are you, borderline hypertensive, medium hypertensive, severe, chronic hypertensive? Everybody can have an improvement. Definitely you can have a lot less damage, definitely you can have a lot more control, and in the more minor cases a cure or a great improvement can be had. In the more severe cases, you're more talking about reducing the severity and stopping yourself from having a certain stroke or heart attack, and bring it back down to, it's a problem, it's an issue, it might cause you some issues later on, but it's more or less controllable. So that's why I would always say I'm not into the allopathic medicine here and the natural medicine here, and the two are fighting. I don't believe in that at all. I do believe in trying to use both as a resource to improve your health. So a lot of things to think about. It's a very complex topic. It's difficult for me to kind of throw a lot of things into a short video. It's probably difficult for you to understand everything that's being thrown into a short video, but it's just to give yourself some ideas, some thoughts about it. And I will be having a book is coming out in a few weeks. I'll have a blood pressure book coming out soon. When it comes out, I'll put the link down below when it does come out. But definitely, it's not something to shy away from. You can make a big improvement and possibly even a cure of high blood pressure. Don't be afraid of it. You can deal with it far more effectively than you realize at this point in time. So that's my little advice, and maybe take a look at the next video. Herbs, which can really make a big difference, and are everyday herbs. And I recommend them for everybody, whether you have blood pressure or not, because those herbs have many, many benefits. Okay, thanks for dropping by and bearing with me on a kind of meandering kind of video. Have a nice day, and like and subscribe if it's all possible. Okay, thanks for dropping by and have a great day.